Hey, it's Chef Summers, and yes, I'm feeling a bit under the weather, but it's not going to stop me from showing you this Invicta 1953. Is it all that it's cracked up to be from some of these reviews I've read, or is it a bunch of hype? Let's find out. If you like the video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Let's not waste any more time and get right into it. The Invicta 1953 Pro Diver is designed after the first Rolex Submariner 6204 from, you guessed it, 1953. The Rolex Submariner 6204 was the first diving watch marketed to the general public and introduced the Submariner line for Rolex, which would go on to become the most important and iconic of all Rolex sports watches. Rolex designed and marketed the reference 6204 Submariner as a true waterproof diver's watch that could be used reliably underwater at great depths. Let's find out about this Invicta 1953 homage to the legendary Rolex 6204. It isn't an homage that deviates much from the original, but considering the 6204 is a unique design, I can give it a pass. It has an Invicta 34337 black-plated PVD stainless steel case with a unidirectional 120-click bezel. And I should also mention here that this is the combat version, as Invicta calls it, the PVD version. But there are a few other models, as you see here. So just for the purpose of this review, I'm going to focus in on the 34337 PVD plated version, but essentially it's the same as the other watches except for the PVD plating. The watch has a diameter of 40 millimeters as opposed to the Rolex's 37 millimeters and is 14.5 millimeters thick. The Invicta has mineral crystal and a screw down sign crown with 200 meters of water resistance, making it a true dive watch. The exhibition case back and bracelet deployment clasp with hollow end links are similar to the original Submariner 6204, at least in concept. The Seiko NH35A movement is reliable and has hand winding and hacking capabilities. It isn't the most accurate movement, but it's tried and true. This is why so many micro brands and big name brands like Invicta use it. It just makes sense. The beat rate is a tolerable 21,600 vibrations or beats per hour, and you might want to think of it as how many clicks or ticks per second, which with a watch at this beat rate, 6 clicks per second is what you're getting. And yeah, all mechanical watches click or tick. The more clicks per second, the smoother the second hand action. You should be good for about 41 hours of power reserve with this movement. Invicta adds its custom yellow rotor to the movement, and that spices things up a lot. The warranty is outstanding from Invicta at 3 years. The overall appearance of the dial is excellent, and the case finishing and PVD coating is exemplary. The markers are extremely well done, and they give an appearance of mother of pearl, which they really are not, but they certainly look the part. Even at macro levels, this dial is spot on and amazing considering the $100 price. From the stick hands to the markers to the carefully placed and subtle writing, it's all very classy. The bezel action is pretty incredible and the click sound is wonderful. The screw down crown, which is signed with the Invicta Cross logo, has an outstanding feel to it, and the minute hand and second hands are the perfect length. Invicta was actually reserved with its branding and has no gaudy, overstated Invicta branding on the side of the watch. The dial is clean and tasteful, and the PVD coating increases the hardness of the material. It improves protection against corrosion and makes the watch more comfortable to wear thanks to a smoother surface. The font on the bezel is highly attractive and the rotor is well decorated, as I mentioned. The lume is outstanding. Excellent job here. It's bright and lasts a good while. Packaging is excellent. Invicta watch boxes are all well made, and the trademark yellow is as identifiable to Invicta as Rolex's green box is to Rolex. And to top it off, it has one of the best warranties in watchdom, 3 years. Then there's the price. I paid a bit over $100 for this timepiece. That's a lot packed into this watch for just $100. Now, much of the review so far has been favorable to the 1953, and even though it's a very fine watch, considering the price, it does have its drawbacks. It's 40 millimeters, and I think it could have been a trite smaller to give a true vintage look and feel on the wrist. Nonetheless, it's a long way from some of Invicta's monstrosities. Negative connotations with the brand, mostly due to the company's dedication to producing hideous timepieces. Many of these are tanks with diameters upwards of 50 millimeters and weights of 450 grams and more. Some may like that look, but I don't. To each his own. Invicta is ridiculous with their MSRPs. The 1953 is no exception, coming in with an MSR retail price of $795. This is part of Invicta's absurdities. No way in hell is this watch worth $800. Give me a break. Not sure why they do this. Invicta knows it will be sold at a fragment of that price. Marking watch is up 7 or 8 times the actual selling price is a turnoff. The watch has push pins instead of screws. It would have been nice to have screws. I think they're easier to work with. Not that it's hard to adjust this bracelet, but nonetheless, I'm a fan of having screws instead of push pins. Mineral glass, no sapphire. That is not good, but much preferable to have sapphire. There's a ghost position. The NH35 has a date wheel, but it's not really seen on this watch because it's underneath the dial. Invicta used this movement because of its reliability and also that, it's inexpensive. But because that there is a date wheel underneath this dial, there's a kind of like a phantom or a ghost date position. And a lot of people are turned off with this, but to me, you just ignore it, and I don't think it's a big deal. I don't like the clasp on this watch. I prefer butterfly deployment clasps, and I know that may have not been true to the 6204, but nonetheless, these clasps seem to be on Invicta really tough to open. If you're a nail biter, then you might need to use something like a credit card or a paper clip to open it. So don't bite your nails. Anyways, my final thought on this watch. The Invicta 1953 is a modernized homage to the original Rolex Submariner from 1953. It has many of the 6204's classic design elements, including the original pencil hour and mini hands with an unloomed lollipop second hand. Although they look nearly identical, they're really not. The Invicta cuts corners left, right, up, and down, but still manages to give you a decent watch with the original Submariner look and for a very small fraction of the cost. Now take a deep breath and follow this advice. Don't be a watch snob. Invicta actually has an impressive history with many elegant and classy designs before the monster watches of modern times. Maybe with your support, Invicta will give us a few more pieces like this 1953 in the future. So go ahead and do it. Buy this Invicta and proudly wear it because you just made yourself a good bang for the buck purchase. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the review. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments below if there's a watch you'd like for me to review or If you have a question or comment about this Invicta, I usually answer the comments within a day or two and be glad to hear from you. So have a great evening, great night, great morning, whatever time you're watching. And I'll see you in the next watch review. Bye.